Okay, I think we can start. Uh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are going to study the measurement of the variables. So this is comparatively easy, unlike the previous session. Creating the constructs and items that requires some previous knowledge of the subject. We should have a thorough knowledge of the subject. Only then you can prepare the constructs and items. Now coming to variables, it's a standardized variables. So for all studies, the variables are the measurement scales are the same. So we are going to study the measurement scales. There are two types of scales. One is the for using attitudinal scale. So understanding the attitudes of people, measuring the perception of people. That is the subjective variables. The hidden, latent variables. Hidden variables. We are understanding, revealing the hidden variables through construct and items. Then we have to measure them, give a number to them. There are two types of scales used. One is called the rating scale. The other is called the ranking scale. Ranking scale, we are familiar. We often ask people to rank. We give them 5 items, and we ask them to rank those 5 items in the order of importance or preference and so on. That is the ranking scale. We'll come to that later. More important type of scales are called the rating scales. So let us start with the rating scales. The first one, there are different types of rating scales. We can use them according to the requirement of the questionnaire, according to your convenience and your requirement. The first is a very simple scale which everybody knows, which is called the dichotomous scale, because there are two answers. So dichotomous scale, yes or no. Are you married? Yes or no. Have you passed the examination? Yes or no. So this is the dichotomous scale. So in all these cases, when you're preparing the questionnaire, we give a number to each answer because we want a number for data analysis. Data analysis is analysis of data, not analysis of words. So the words have to be represented by a number. Only then we can analyze the data. So when in the questionnaire, when you are giving a question like, are you married? The answers are, two answers are given, yes or no. We will give one, yes, two, no, or the other way around. So that number is important because that number is the one which will be fed into the computer to do the analysis. So always remember that. This we will not give it just as yes or no. We will be giving as one yes, two no. So always a number will be attached to this. Second scale is called the category scale. So we want to know to which category the respondent belongs. So therefore we call it a category scale. He may be a male or a female. So we are asking him your gender. We give one male, two female. So always a number will be attached to this. You want to find out what is your residential status. What is your residential status? 3 answers are given: urban, rural, semi-urban, with the number 1 urban, 2 rural, 3 semi-urban. So it is a number which will be fed into the computer for analysis. Another scale is commonly used scale, which we have already referred to earlier. It is called the Likert scale. It deals with agreements to statements on a 5-point scale. So the scale has 5 points, therefore it is known as a 5-point scale. If the scale has 7 points, we will call it a 7-point scale. So this is a 5-point scale. It deals with the agreement to different statements. It is called a Likert scale. That is the name of the person who gave the scale. Likert is the name of the person who gave the scale. So we call it a Likert scale. The scale points are like this. The scale points are 5. See again, numbers are there. Fully agree. 4 is agree. 3 neither agree nor disagree. That means you are neutral. Then you have disagree, and 1 fully, fully disagree. So in the scale, we don't use 0. Remember that we don't use 0. In a scale, we always use positive numbers, because 0 is a very dangerous number. And it has several implications. So for analysis, 0 is difficult. So we don't use, in the scales, we don't use 0. So we always say, so fully disagree. Sometimes you may say, why not 0? You are disagreeing. So 0 has a different connotation. So we are giving a positive numbers, 5-point scale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we have seen 3 scales now. One is the dichotomous scale. The second is the category scale. So the next is the real scale. We start the measurement because the first two are not measurement scales. We are just trying to find out whether some things, and we are trying to find out the category to which a person belongs. The measurement starts with the Likert scale. Right. Now, we have seen construct and items. Remember, we have seen construct and items. So in the construct, there may be different statements. So 5 statements, 6 statements, 3 statements. So several statements can be used to measure a particular attitude or a perception. So the construct will be measured with the different statements, and each statement will have a score. We are asking them to agree to the statements. Remember, we are asking them to agree to the statement. So each statement is used to represent an aspect of the attitudinal domain. Each statement is called an item or an element. It is an element of the construct. And we are asking them to measure, give a measurement to each statement. So then we will finally total the respondents' responses to the multiple statements in the scale. So that supposing there are 4 statements, the answer given for each of the 4 statements will be added up, and that is the score of that constructor. And that score is called composite score. Composite score. So each element or each item has a score. The score of each item will be added up, and that is the composite score of the construct or dimension. Read that third bullet. By summing respondents' responses to the multiple statements in the scale, the attitude can be measured. The attitude is measured. I'll give an example. For example, let us take job satisfaction. See here, look at this. We are measuring one construct or one dimension, which is relation with the superior. Relation with the superior. So what is the composite score of the relation with the superior? That is what we are going to look at. There are different statements, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 statements are given. 5 statements are given. So there are 5 items. Each statement, the person has to agree or disagree. So score on the Likert scale. The first statement, there is a score of 5. Look at the score. The first statement, the person fully agrees, 5. Second statement, the employee agrees, not fully, but agrees, so 4. Third statement, he is neutral about it. He is neither agreeing nor disagreeing, 3. Then look here. The fourth statement, I am dissatisfied with the leadership. We are measuring whether the relation is good or bad. I am dissatisfied with the leadership. So he has given, he has actually, what he has said is, he has disagreed with this. He has disagreed with this. That means not fully disagreed, partly disagreed. That means 2. So the employee has given 2. Listen carefully. The employee has given 2. That means he's disagreeing with the statement that I am dissatisfied with the leadership provided. So this is a negative statement. I am dissatisfied. So when he disagrees with that statement, that means he is having a good relation with the superior. So we have to reverse the score. Because this is a negative statement, the score given for the negative statement has to be reversed. Positive statements, we take the score as it is. Negative statement, I am dissatisfied. He's disagreeing with this. That means he is satisfied. So the 2 that he gave, the dissatisfaction score is 2. That is to be reversed to 4. That is why reversed score of 4. Similarly, my relation with the superior is official in nature. He has disagreed with this. He has given 2. The employee has given 2. But for analysis, we will reverse the score, because when he says he is disagreeing with the statement, that means he is saying that my relation with the superior is good. So the statement has to be reversed to 4. The score has to be reversed to 4. So remember, negative statements, the score has to be reversed. Positive statements, we take the score as it is. Now total the score. The maximum score, supposing a person, an employee gives 5 for all the 5 items, the maximum will be 5 into 5, 25. Supposing a person gives 1 minimum for each of the 5 statements, the total minimum score will be 5. So the total maximum is 25, minimum is 5. In this particular employee's case, he has given 20. So his composite score for the relation with the superior is 20 out of 25, which means he has a very good relation with the superior. So this is how we are using the Likert scale to measure the attitude or construction and items. This score 20 is called the composite score. Okay. Another example of perceived risk composite score. We'll take one perceived risk. Perceived risk. There is, we have seen financial risk. Financial risk had 3 items. Financial risk is a construct. It had 3 items, 3 statements. The score given for the 3 items were total and divided by 3. You get a mean score of 3.38. Mean score of 3.38. This is how we present the composite score. So there were 3 items. All the score for the 3 items was totaled, divided by 3. The mean score is 3.38. It is a 5-point scale. Remember, it's a 5-point scale. Standard deviation. It represents the variation. The score is 1.11. It is not very high. So the level of risk is high, because out of a 5-point scale, it is 3.38. So it is high. Product performance risk. There are 3 items. Mean is 3.43. Standard deviation is less. Mean is above 3. Therefore, it is high. Time risk. There are 3 statements. The mean score is only 2.66, which is below the midpoint of the scale. Midpoint of the scale is 3. So we say the level of risk is low. Psychological risk 2.71, low. Privacy risk mean score is 3.38, which is above the midpoint, therefore it is high. Convenience risk 3.08, we can say it is high. So see, this is how we find out what is the level of risk. We are measuring the level of risk using Likert scale, using a composite score for the different dimensions. So I'm just showing you how the measurement is done. The levels are based on quartiles of the 5 points. So 1 to 1.5, we say very low. 1.5 to 3, we say low. 3 is the midpoint of the scale. So 3 is moderate. 3 to 4.5 is high. Above 4.5, very high. So this is how we decide whether it is high or medium or low. So this is the measurement of perceived risk using composite score. Now we are moving on to, so far what I was explaining was the Likert scale and how we create a composite score out of the Likert scale using the Likert scale. Now we are moving to a different scale, another type of scale, which is called a semantic differential scale or a numerical scale. Semantic differential scale or a numerical scale. So in your questionnaire, in most of the questionnaires, the Likert scale will be there because there will be constructors and items. So that is very commonly used. Now, this is used if necessary. So we will understand the scale, remember the scale, use it if it is useful in your questionnaire. See, there are bipolar attributes are identified at the extremes of the scale. Supposing you are trying to understand the usefulness of a product. Usefulness of a product, the two extremes are, there, so we call it a bipolar extremes, useful, useless. Useful, useless. So these are the two extremes. Now, in between, it may be somewhat useful, it may be a little useful, or it may be totally useless. So in between, there are variations. So in between, there are variations. So we have to measure that. The two extremes are useful and useless. How useful is it? How useless is it? We have to measure with a number. So for that, we are going to use a number. Respondent's attitude towards a product, whether it is useful, is indicated on a semantic space or a numerical scale. You can measure it in two ways. One, you can give space like this, useful, useless. 7 spaces are given there. So the respondent customer can tick one space. Better than that, we can give, now we are in the computer era, so we can give numbers are better. So supposing you are asking about whether you are satisfied with this product or dissatisfied, the two extremes are satisfied and dissatisfied. How satisfied, how dissatisfied, we can measure with a 7-point scale or 5-point scale. Scale, you can decide the scale. Likert scale, you cannot change because it is given by the person called Likert. He has given a 5-point scale, so it cannot be changed by us. This, nobody has given the scale. This is our own choice. So you can choose the scale. If you want a 7-point scale, fine. If you want a 5-point scale, you choose that. So I have given here an example of a 7-point scale. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Supposing you are totally dissatisfied, you will take 1. If you are fully satisfied, you will take 7. If you are somewhere in the middle, you will take 4 or 3, and so on. So it's very clear to you. So this is how we are measuring. These are measurement scales. So this is not an agreement scale. This is another type of scale where we are measuring attributes of products or people. We can measure it by either you can measure it with the spaces given there, then it is called a semantic differential scale. If you are giving spaces, 7 spaces or 5 spaces, it is called semantic differential scale. If you are giving numbers, then it is called numerical scale. So normally now we follow a numerical scale of 5-point or 7-point or 9-point or 3-point or 4-point. That is up to you. It can be used for measuring the different qualities of a product or a person, the attributes, qualities of a person or a product, helpful, unhelpful, two extremes, friendly, unfriendly. Supposing it is a HR study, you're studying about your superior, helpful, unhelpful, friendly, unfriendly, harmonious, quarrelsome, two extremes, cheerful, gloomy, two extremes. So in between, what is the scale? You can use the scale to measure the extent of friendliness or harmoniousness and so on. Okay, so this is the second scale. So first is the Likert scale, second is the numerical scale. Now we come to another scale, the third scale, itemized rating scale. itemized rating scale. Say, in this scale, there's a problem. You have a numerical scale, a 7-point scale is given. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, 5, what does it mean? 6, what does it mean? 3, what does it mean? 7, we know, fully satisfied. 1, fully dissatisfied, we know. But what is the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2? What do they represent? What do they mean? We do not know. Okay. So the next scale will clarify that point. A 5-point or a 7-point scale with anchors. Anchors means descriptions for each number. The previous numerical scale, the number is given without any description. Here, the number is given with the description. 1, very dissatisfied. 2, dissatisfied. 3, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. 4, satisfied. 5, very satisfied. So now it is very clear. So it is an extension or a modification of the numerical scale. It is called itemized rating scale because each number is given a description. So each number is itemized with an anchor or a description. So we call it an itemized rating scale. So if it is a very highly educated respondents, we can use a numerical scale because they will understand. If it is highly educated people, employed people, they will understand what is meant by a numerical scale. But if it is an uneducated, illiterate group of people, then for them, this may be better, itemized rating scale, because everything is very clearly mentioned. So it depends. That is why it depends upon the respondents. It depends upon the purpose of your study. Based on all those things, you have to choose. The researcher has to choose which scale he has to use. There are different scales available. Different scales are available. Likert scale is available. Numerical scale is available. Itemized rating scale is available. You have to decide which one you have to choose. Now comes the question. This point, how many points? 5 points, 7 point. Can we have a 4-point scale? Can we have a 6-point scale? See, how many points should be there in the scale? So there are 2 types of scales are there. One is known as a balanced scale with a neutral point like this 5 and 7. See the third point here, third one. Neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. This is a neutral point. It's a 5-point scale with a neutral point. It's called a balanced scale. Or you can also have an unbalanced scale without a neutral point. Like 1 means not at all satisfied, 2 means somewhat satisfied, 3 moderately satisfied, 4 very much satisfied. So there's no neutral point here. There's no point neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. All of them are without a neutral point. It's a 4-point scale. We call it an unbalanced scale because there is no neutral point. Okay, so there are 2 types. You can use any of this type. You can use a balanced scale or you can use an unbalanced scale. But then question is which one should you choose? Actually, it is a choice of the researcher, but these 2 types of scales have their own advantages and disadvantages. Supposing it is a balanced scale with a neutral point, a person who is filling up the questionnaire, if he is not very clear about whether he is satisfied or dissatisfied, then without taking time to think about it, he will simply take the neutral point, say neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, because it is easy. So a person who is confused or who has to think about the answer, instead of wasting time, instead of thinking about it, he will adopt the easy method of ticking the third point, which means he's not giving the correct answer. So what we are getting, the data that we are getting is not the correct data. So that danger is there in the case of neutral point, balanced scale. If it is an unbalanced scale, he has to choose one of this. He has to decide how far he is satisfied. He cannot opt for a neutral point. So he has to think and find out whether he is partly satisfied or somewhat satisfied or moderately satisfied. So he will think and give an answer. So we will get an answer which is what we want, which is the correct answer. So we'll get a correct answer with the unbalanced scale. That is the advantage of the unbalanced scale. But then the disadvantage is the statistical analysis that we are going to do later on after collecting the data. You will be doing statistical analysis using different types of statistical tools. And all these statistical tools and statistical analysis assume that the data, all the tools are prepared on the assumption that the data is normally distributed with a neutral point. So the statistical analysis depends upon a neutral point. So statisticians and statistical analysis is based on a data with a neutral point. Whereas the analysis with the data collected with an unbalanced scale does not have a neutral point. So statistically speaking, balanced scale is better than unbalanced scale. So that is the position now. So for that, so depending upon that, you have to decide, the research has to decide which one has to be used. Now, a new type of statistical tools called non-parametric tools can be used. So if your data is collected with an unbalanced scale without a neutral point or a central point, then you can use non-parametric tests corresponding to the normal statistical tools. We have a set of tools called non-parametric tools. Those tools can be used in the case of unbalanced scale. So there is no problem. You can choose whichever scale you want. It is up to the researcher and his guide which type of scale you want to use. So understand the two types of scales. That is, my purpose is to make you understand the two types of scales. Example, how do you rate the following product features? Marketing study. As a product is there, how do you rate the following product features? So you are using the following 5-point scale for rating. So there's a scale is given. It is an itemized rating scale. It is an itemized rating. It's a 5-point scale. Balanced scale with a neutral point average. So just to make you understand the scale. So this is a balanced scale with a neutral point. It's a 5-point scale. It is not a Likert scale. It is a itemized rating scale. That is, each number is given with anchors or description. So this is a balanced itemized rating scale. Understood? So quality, you can give 5, 4, or 3, or 2. Availability, pricing, promotion, packing. So the customer will give numbers for each of these product features. Just an example of a scale so that you understand what is meant by a balanced scale, itemized rating scale, and so on. Now we move on to the next scale. So we studied Likert scale, numerical scale, itemized rating scale, which is better than the numerical scale. Now we have some another scale. These are all different scales. So you take the scale depending upon what you are measuring. Fixed or constant sum scale. Fixed or constant sum scale. It is just like when you are valuing an answer paper. Supposing you have an examination, a question has 10 marks. A teacher who is valuing that question paper, the answer, the question has 10 marks, total maximum 10 marks. So we will read the answer and assess whether it is good. If it is very good, we may give 10 or 9. If it is not at all good, we will give 1 or even 0, 1, 2, 3, or if it is average, 5, and so on. So in the same way, the respondents are asked to distribute a given number of points, say 50 points, across various items to measure the importance of each item. So marks are given like 50 or 80, and you have to measure different items, the importance of different items. The total is 50. Like I'll show you here. Features of a product. Supposing the features of a product are price is one feature, quality, attractiveness, life, and after sales service. So these are the common features of a product. And what is the importance of each of these features? Usually we ask them to rank this importance. First rank may be given to attractiveness, second rank may be given to price, third rank may be given to quality, or first rank may be given to quality, second rank to price, and so on. So ranking is one method. But then ranking, when you are giving first rank and second rank, the difference between the ranks are equal. First rank, second rank, third rank, the difference is equal. Supposing two of these items are equally important, you cannot give first rank to two items. Here, what we are asking them is, we give them 50 points. Okay, so there are 5 items, we give them 50 points. And you are asking them, distribute this 50 points according to the importance of the items. So if you think that quality is very good, the most important is quality, give 30 marks. Price, next important, give 10. Attractiveness is not very important, you can give 5. Life, you can give 1. After sales service, you need not give any marks. So here, based on the quality and the relative importance of each item, you can vary the marks. You need not give equal marks to each item. Supposing you think that all of them are equally important, you can give 10 marks to each. Supposing 2 items are equally important, the others are not important. Say price and quality are equally important. You can give 10 to price and 10 to quality, and 5 to attractiveness, 8 to life, 7 to after sales. So you can distribute it as you like. So there's a lot of flexibility. In ranking, there is no flexibility. First rank, second rank, third rank. So it is equal. The difference between price and quality, supposing you are giving first rank to price and second rank to quality, the difference between those two are equal. But here, you can express the difference very clearly. Supposing you find that all the items are equally important, you give equal marks to all the items. If you find 2 items are equally important, give equal marks to 2 items, give less marks to the other items, and so on. So a lot of flexibility is there. So this is a very good type of measurement. Fixed or constant sum. A sum is given, marks is given, and you distribute it according to the importance of each item. So this is a good measure used instead of ranking. Right. Okay, so this is a fixed or constant sum scale. Next, we come to another scale called staple scale. Staple scale. This is the name of a person. Staple is the name of the person who gave the scale. So this is a very interesting scale, a different scale, very interesting scale. It's a nobody knows this. Commonly, it is not used. It is a numerical scale ranging from, say, +3 to -3. +3 to -3. So the scale points will be +3, +2, +1, 0, -1, -2, -3. So these are the points of the scale. So it's actually a 7-point scale. -3, +3, +2, +1, 0, -1, -2, -3. It's a 7-point scale. This is useful in measuring the intensity and the direction of the response. What is the intensity? What is the direction? Is it negative? Then you can give minus marks. If it is positive, you can give plus marks. So that intensity and direction can be both measured. Say, for example, the classroom management skill of a teacher can be measured on such a scale. So if it is negative, not at all good, you may give -2. If it is very good, you may give +2 or +3. So see, depending upon whether it is positive or negative, you can give minus or plus. Relation between superior, subordinate. If the subordinate does not like the superior, he can give minus marks. He can give minus marks to express that intensity of the emotion. So that emotional intensity can be expressed with this minus sign. So the purpose is very simple, just to express the intensity and direction very clearly. Negative or positive. If he does not like it at all, he can give a negative marks. If he likes it, positive marks. So that intensity and direction is expressed very clearly. But before doing the analysis, this will be converted into a 7-point scale, because we don't use 0 in the analysis. We don't use minus marks in the analysis. So the respondent will give the answer using the scale. So there will be plus and minus figures and 0. But the answer will be converted into a 7-point scale. That means -3 will be converted into 1. -2 will be converted into 2. -1 will be converted into 3. 0 will be converted into 4. +1 will be converted into 5. +2 will be converted into 6. And +3 will be converted into 7. So it's basically a 7-point scale. So after getting the answers, before entering into the computer, the answers will be converted into a 7-point scale and entered into the computer for analysis. So it's a scale, it's actually a 7-point scale. It's a numerical scale. Remember, the numerical without items. There are no anchors and descriptions. It's a numerical scale with the negative, but the negative will be converted. So when you give it with the negative, it is called a staple scale, but it will be converted into a numerical scale before analysis. Example. Evaluate the performance of your teacher on the following parameters. Use a staple scale. So the student will give plus and minus, but before analysis, it will be converted into a 7-point scale. Ability to make the students understand difficult concepts. So these are constructs and items. See, remember, we are using constructs and items. That is the method of collecting data. Here we are studying how to measure it. So each statement will be measured using a staple scale. Here we are not using a Likert scale, because here we are not giving a statement and asking them to agree or disagree. Likert scale is used for agreeing or disagreeing. Here we are measuring something, the ability. It's not an agreement scale. What is the ability? So that has to be measured on a staple scale. Preparation for the class. We are not, so you cannot ask the student to agree or disagree. We have to measure the preparation for the class by the teacher. Creating and sustaining interest in the topic, so that has to be measured. Willingness to clarify doubts has to be measured. Okay, so these are another example of a staple scale. So we are studying different types of scales. Each one is different, can be used in different situations. So now we come to another scale called graphic rating scale. All these are rating scales. Graphic rating scale is a very simple scale with a 10-point, 1 to 10. Respondents are asked to indicate their response as a point on a scale. It's a 10-point scale, 1 to 10. 1 to 10. So graphic rating scale is a 10-point scale. You are asking the respondent to indicate the importance or his liking or his satisfaction or whatever it is on a 10-point scale. 1 means least important, 10 means most important. Say, different features of a product may be rated on a scale of 10. Like, it can be used for comparing two products. Supposing you are taking two products, you take two mobiles by two companies. You want to compare them. So price, you want to rate the price of the two mobiles on a 10-point scale. So supposing your price is good or reasonable, you may give 8 for the first mobile. You may give 3 for the second mobile. Or quality. Supposing the quality are compared, two mobiles, the qualities are compared on a 10-point scale. So if you give 8 for the first mobile, that means the quality is very good. 3 for the second mobile, that means the quality of the second mobile is poor compared to the quality of the first mobile. So this is usually used for comparative purposes. When you are comparing two products, two persons, two situations, two superiors, and so on. Simple scale, graphic rating scale. Evaluate your class participation. Supposing you are a student, you have to evaluate your class participation behavior, attentiveness in class on a 10-point scale. If you are very attentive, you can give 9. Or teacher may evaluate the student, or the student himself will evaluate. Supposing this teacher is evaluating, participation in discussions is poor, the score may be only 1 or 2. Completion of assignments are on time, then the score may be 9, 8, and so on. So this 1 means low score, 10 means high score. Okay, so these are the rating scales. So let us remember the rating scales. First one, Likert scale. Second one, numerical scale without anchors. Third one, itemized rating scale with the description. Next one is the fixed or constant sum scale. Fixed or constant sum scale. A fixed score is given, it has to be distributed. Then we have staple scale with plus and minus scores. Staple scale. Actually, it is a numerical scale, which will be converted into a numerical scale. Then we have a graphic rating scale, which is a 10-point scale. So these are the different rating scales. Ranking scale, I'm not going to details. Ranking scale, you already know. We give them 4 or 5 items and ask them to rank the items based on their importance or preference. So one first rank for the most important, second rank for the next important, and so on. So the ranking scale, it can also be used. This is simple. Ranking scale is very simple. So recently we were discussing a study and we were preparing a questionnaire. The respondents of the study were fishermen in different areas. Fishermen. It's a study about their financial practices and so on. Fishermen. So we first prepared the questionnaire based using all the rating scales, the different types of rating scales, agreement scale, itemized rating scale, and so on. Then we started collecting data. They're very difficult to get the data because fishermen are basically illiterate. They don't understand all those things. So those scales are a little complicated. So when the pilot study was conducted with this type of questionnaire, it was very difficult to get the data because they are not able to distinguish between highly agree, disagree, partly disagree, all those things. So then we said, no, we will change all this into ranking scales. So we converted everything into ranking. So that becomes easy because for them, ranking is easy for them. Which one is the most important? Then, okay, it was an interview schedule. So which is most important? They will say this is most important, this is second. So ranking, very easy. So see, so the depending upon the respondents, the questionnaire has to be prepared looking at the respondents also. So don't prepare the questionnaire, the perfect questionnaire. You won't get data sometimes. So it depends upon questionnaire should suit the scales should suit the respondents also. So in some cases, the ranking scale is easy. You will have to use only the ranking scale. If it is a study among educated, literate people, then the other scales may be useful. Okay, so ranking scale I am leaving out. Measurement benefits and so on we can leave out because now comes the question. See, we said there are 4 dimensions of the questionnaire. First is the context, second is the content, third is the configuration, how to frame the question. The last is the quality of the questionnaire. So we come to the configuration. The basic principle is that information is multidimensional. We have to remember that information is multidimensional. That means we are trying, through our questionnaire, we are going to collect data, information. And this data or information has many dimensions. Many dimensions. So our questionnaire should be framed in such a way that all the dimensions should be collected. That is why we divided the questionnaire, the concepts, into dimensions and elements, because that concept has many subdivisions. So we divided them into dimensions and elements, because information is multi-dimensional. So this is the basic principle. So the question should be configured so as to capture the maximum complete information. We want the complete information. So the configuration has to be carefully done. Different types of questions should be asked or needed. We may require different types of questions. So we have studied the indirect method of asking questions to get the hidden data. Let's take an example. Computer knowledge or skill of respondents. So supposing your variable is computer knowledge and skill of the respondents. Okay. So remember, this has got many dimensions. Computer knowledge has many dimensions. So we have to identify those dimensions. Divide, this is a broad, this is a concept. It has to be divided into dimensions and elements. So don't ask a question, do you have computer knowledge and skill? That is not how we should configure the question. Configuring the question, asking the question, do you have computer knowledge or skill? If he says no, it's okay. But if he says yes, what does it mean? This, because computer knowledge has many dimensions. What does he know? So this is useless. Just like the questionnaire prepared by the newspaper. I give you the questionnaire prepared by the newspaper. It's a useless question. So this is a useless question. This is not how we should ask the question. Because the information is incomplete, not at all useful. Computer was assumed to be unidimensional. We assume that computer has only one dimension. Computer has many dimensions. Similarly, knowledge was assumed to be two-dimensional. Having knowledge, not having knowledge. Having knowledge and not having knowledge, two-dimensional. No, the knowledge has different levels. Experience, amateur, professional, expertise. So knowledge has different levels. So that is why the information is always multi-dimensional. We should divide the variable into dimensions and elements and ask questions on the elements. Only then we can understand the concept. Job satisfaction, remember the example of job satisfaction. So both computer and knowledge are multi-dimensional. Therefore, computer has different programs, different users. So those are the dimensions of the computer knowledge. And similarly, knowledge may be of different levels. Those are the dimensions of knowledge. Nil, minimum, amateur, expert, etc. Okay. Okay. Offline classes, we make them do an exercise, study habits and methods of college students. I usually give, if it is a long workshop, I usually give an exercise asking in the class, asking them to prepare a questionnaire on the study habits and methods of college students. There we will divide this into dimensions and elements. Then we will prepare the questionnaire using different scales and so on, so that you get used to the two things that we studied today. One is the dimensions and elements and constructs and items. Second is the different scales. Okay, but we don't have time for this. Is that exercise? Say the dimension there. See, dimension, elements, measurements, measurement scale. See, yeah, just give you one example. Dimension. We are studying, see the heading there, study habits. Study habits, dimensions and elements. Dimension, one of the dimension is the time of study, because the habit, study habit means when do you study? The time of study is a part of your habit. Time of study is part of your habit. So that is one dimension. Okay. So that dimension is again divided into elements. You can look at the second column, elements. Early morning, morning, evening, night, late night. Okay, these are the elements. Then what is the scale to be used here? So early morning. So early morning, some people may be using it always. So there we have to use a scale. What is the measurement scale on the last column? So against each element, early morning, morning, evening, night, late night, we give 5 choices. The scale to be used there. So they have to give a number. The scale is a 5-point scale. Itemized rating scale. See the scale there. Itemized rating scale. 1 means never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, often. 5, always. Okay. So supposing against evening, because this will be given one below the other. Early morning, morning, evening, night, late night. So against evening, suppose a person gives 5. Against evening, against each he has to give a number. He gives 5. That means he is always using evening time. Supposing late night, he uses 1. That means he never uses late night for study. Early morning, 1. That means he never uses early morning slot for study. So this is how dimensions, elements, measurement scale. So this is what we studied today, how to divide the variables into dimensions and elements or constructs and items. This is dimensions and elements. Constructs and items are converting in the elements into statements. Then measurement scale. There are different types of measurement scales. So this is study methods again. These are the dimensions and elements. Then study constraints. These are the dimensions and elements. Measurement scale is also there. So this, before you start preparing your questionnaire, this exercise has to be done. This table has to be prepared, and it may be dimensions and elements, or it may be constructs and items. It can be both constructs and items, measurement scale. So after doing this exercise, then the questionnaire preparation becomes easy, very easy. So we come to the last, I'll quickly finish in 5 minutes. We come to the last dimension of questionnaire. How good is it, or the quality of the questionnaire? There are 2 criteria for understanding the quality of the questionnaire. One is reliability, that is the accuracy in measurement. Are we measuring correctly? Accuracy. Accuracy of measurement is reliability. Reliability. Then second is, are we measuring the right things? Are we measuring job satisfaction, or are we measuring something else? So validity is, are we measuring the right things? Reliability is, are we measuring job satisfaction correctly? Is the measurement correct? Second is, are we measuring the right things? So these are the 2 aspects of reliability and validity. So reliability indicates stability and consistency. So the data which you have collected is whether it is stable or consistent. Stability means the same result on different occasions. If you are using a weighing machine, every time it should give you the same result. Supposing you are weighing it today, after 5 minutes. So it should give the same result, stable. The result should be stable. So we can use to find out whether the data that you have collected is stable. We can use the method of testing, like test and retest. So you conduct a study, pilot study today. After 1 week, conduct a pilot study again in the same group, a retest. And if you are having the same result, then your data is stable. So in the pilot study stage, you take a group of people, give the questionnaire, get the data. After 1 week, conduct a retest. If the answer is the same, then the data is stable. Or parallel form. You can conduct a study of college students in one college, a similar group in another college, same time. You collect the data, and if they are more or less the same, then we can say it is stable. Internal consistency means the items in a construct. Supposing your relation with the superiors, you are studying the relation with the superiors with a number of items, statements. So those statements must all relate to the relation with the superior. The items must be homogeneous, dealing with the construct itself. Whether that is true, it can be measured with a statistical measure called Cronbach's alpha. That's a statistical measure. You can get it from the software. And a Cronbach's alpha varies from 0 to 1. Higher the alpha, better the internal consistency of the items. So tested with the Cronbach's alpha. Higher the value, higher the consistency. So stability and consistency of the data has to be tested by using a test and retest and Cronbach's alpha. Then you say your data is reliable. Validity means whether you are measuring the right things. Reliability means whether you are measuring correctly. Here, whether you are measuring the correct things. So whether a questionnaire actually measures what it is supposed to measure. So are you measuring job satisfaction? Are you measuring consumer satisfaction? Are your questions related to that, or is it related to something else? So here, the validity has 2-3 dimensions. One, content validity, that is whether the content of the questionnaire is all related to your topic of study, that is content validity. Ensures that an adequate set of items that measure the concept are included in the questionnaire. Whether all your content of the questionnaire, whether they are all relating to your topic of study. Ensures that all the dimensions and elements of a concept are included. Whether the study includes all the dimensions, all the elements of your concept. And how to test that? Only experts can test that. A panel of judges or experts can attest to the content validity. Give it to some experts. They will look into read the questionnaire and tell you whether it is all relating to your topic or whether some of these questions are not relating to your topic. Construct validity means the construction of the questionnaire, the configuration, the way it is constructed, the measurement scales used, so that construction of, not the content, the construction of the questions, whether they are correct. It can be tested only through a pilot study. So conduct a pilot study. Then if people are able to understand and answer the questions, then the construction of the questionnaire is correct. So this is the second aspect of the quality of the questionnaire, validity. Content, okay, so this is what I said. The questionnaire has to be comprehensive. The questionnaire is used to collect primary data for a study. Remember, we are preparing the questionnaire to collect primary data for study. The study has specific objectives. Usually we'll have 3 objectives, 4 objectives, or 5 objectives. And the questionnaire should have sufficient number of questions related to each objective. Does the questionnaire contain sufficient number of questions related to each objective? So for that, we have to do a mapping. Mapping of the questions to the objectives will help to test whether the questionnaire is comprehensive. So we have to prepare a table, which I will show you in the next slide. We have to prepare a table mapping the objectives and the questions like this. Mapping of questions to objectives. Mapping of the questions to objectives. See, objective 1, 2, 3, 4. Objective 1. What are the questions? Question numbers. Question objective 1. What are the question numbers dealing with objective 1? Objective 2. What are the question numbers dealing with objective 2? Objective 4, 5. So if you prepare a table like this, then you will see that sometimes your objective 3 does not have enough number of questions. Objective 5 does not have enough number of questions. So this table is important. Prepare this table, find out whether your questionnaire has enough questions for each objective. Otherwise, include some more questions for that objective. So this is the last part. After preparing the questionnaire, this has to be done. Okay, so I have a book on research. I think I showed you last time, Research Methodology for Social Science, prepared by Ann Books. Okay. So today we saw just 2 things. One is how to prepare the questionnaire. Second is how to incorporate the measurement scales in the questionnaire. So try to understand these two things. I hope. Okay. Yes. If you have any questions, doubts, you can ask them. Right. Okay. It's a long session. I think it's almost 12:40. Okay. Right. If you have any doubts or questions, you can ask, or you can even call me later and clarify your doubts. Right. Was the session audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Okay, I think then we can wind up, and you can ask questions later on. You can send a mail, or you can directly call and clarify your doubts. No problem. Okay. Right.
Sir, definitely, sir.